Hello everyone and welcome back to RaceSpotTV on a Monday night and the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside is Lorenzo Bonder as we kick off the iRacing month of May live from the Brickyard. This coming weekend, the NTT IndyCar Series will host the Indy GP. This weekend is the second annual iRacing Indy 500, the fixed edition. For 7 days after that, we get underway for the 12th annual running of the iRacing Indy 500 as Brandon Traino looks to make it 3 wins back-to-back. Here, though, it's all about the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship that Traino secured just a couple of weeks ago. Now all eyes on Powerslide Motorsports as they are dominant at the front of the championship. We are entering the final stages of this season. It is not round 8, it is round 9. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll head to the Atlanta Motor Speedway in a week's time. Not sure what participation will be like there with teams focused on IndyCar qualifying. But then the final 2 rounds, Indianapolis Motor Speedway for our Indy 100, alongside the streets of Belle Isle to decide the championship. It switched around last time, Lorenzo, when we visited the Lone Star State and the Circuit of the Americas. Adam Blocker now once more at the front of the standings. Henry Bennett will keep him honest, and Adam Blocker needs to get a result here today. He'll be heading to the Brickyard to start his month of May trackside with Ilmore Engineering.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week for Adam Blocker regarding Indy, so he needs to make the most ground possible. You can see he actually retains the lead of this championship, not by a whole lot of points. If I recall correctly, that is 24 points that he has on Henry Bennett as they come into round number 9. And so far, what he needs to do, basically, I think, clinch top 3, and he should be within a very secure spot and to contain your teammate from Henry Bennett, the max position as you can. But this is not the easiest track for you to do it.
It's a difficult track to nail and get every ounce of. Built back in 2000, this original road course layout for Formula One to come to Indiana. Then only a couple of years ago, 2014, the first time the Indy cars ran their Grand Prix around this track. It's a difficult one to pass on. We've got an older configuration, very much reliant on the drag down in towards turn number 1. Qualifying underway. We've got some new faces in the race as well. Premysław Lemonak for R8G Esports. Going to be exciting to see how he gets underway. Look at the livery he's sporting as well here, Lorenzo. The colors that team owner Roman Grosjean runs in that NTT IndyCar Series.
Yeah, I think Roman is going to be appreciative of this, you know, that little homage that he's making for the owner. And we know Marek Lemonak is a really good driver, but one thing is driving on GT cars that we normally see him, and even at the IR01, which he might be preparing later on this year. But the Indy cars, it's a whole different package of aerodynamics. But so far, he's trying to do his best as he opened up the lap. He closed the lap P4, not far behind the guys that are from Powerslide.
Yeah, Vaz, though, he was a winner 1 week ago from, a slight wiggle there from Lemonak onto the grass. I think that might invalidate his lap time, but we'll see how he goes as he runs into the first of these left-hand hairpins. It was Vaz that took victory at the Circuit of the Americas. Didn't have the easiest start to his ISOWC campaign over the weekend, but a top 10 finish for the Ass Heat driver. Provisional pole, 1 and a bit tenths clear of Adam Blocker in second, with Phil Kraus 8 thousandths of a second behind the Powerslide number 2 machine. Keeping on board with Lemonak here. I want to see what his lap time is going to be as Crane slots him up into provisional second, Lorenzo, because the R8G driver is going to be one to watch. Someone we've not seen before on a Monday night. Pace might be somewhat interesting from him.
Yeah, pace might be really interesting from Lemonak as he's right about finishing the second sector and going to actually starting sector number 2, and heading up to sector number 3, which are probably the trickiest section of corners you have in this track. Which do you count this as a hairpin, Arjuna, even though it has a very weird angle?
I don't think technically it can be considered a hairpin as we take a look on board with the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg. He's up into 15th position in qualifying. It looks as though all 24 cars might be done and dusted with their 2 laps that they get here on the iRacing service. 8 minutes, and when you're only looking about 70 seconds at each lap time attempt here, Lorenzo. We've got about 120 seconds now to talk about the grid. Yao Vaz, Adam Crane on the front row with Adam Blocker and Philip Kraus, row number 2. And then you got Henry Bennett, Christian Steele on row 3. Steele, good to see him back on a Monday after completing another year at university. And then you find Lemonek alongside Cesar Manzado, Vilde-Wallen and Adam State for the VRS Satellite Racing team on the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, really good lineup, and all comprised of all-stars. I think everybody bar maybe Cesar Manzado and Christian Steele and Lemonek are featuring in the ISOWC. We saw what they did in the Watkins Glen race. Of course, going from Watkins Glen into a track that it's a little bit different. You're gonna have to be very wary of how to drive on the dirty air. We were talking about this not so long ago. It's gonna be a whole different package than driving on a track that demands downforce like you have in Watkins Glen, and you can actually rely quite a lot on the draft trains. I think more so than ever, I think the drivers will be very conservative on the push to pass, because we're going to see basically that being used on the main straight.
Let's go ahead. I think we've got some replays that we can spool up from qualifying. Always good to see what happened here. Ooh, Connor Harrington in through, I believe that would be turn number 2, loses the rear end of the car. That would explain why Harrington...
That was 3 to 4, actually.
So that would explain why Harrington is all the way down in 16th position. One more look at the aerial if we can. And there you can see it's through, you're right, turn 3. I was thinking it was turn 2, just misjudging my corner numbers. Second incident to take a look at for Nate Hayden in the loose nut racing machine.
Ooh.
Spool it back. First time we're seeing him. Veteran on iRacing, newcomer to the IndyCar series. Take a look here. 30 seconds left, all over the inside curb, and you want to be using a healthy dose there, Lorenzo. You can't use as much as he did there. He'll learn his lesson come the race.
Yeah, it's one of those tricky corners, especially with the worn out tires. You want to kind of like graze that curb a little bit just so you can carry the car to be as straight and as fast as possible, and then navigate in between the other twisty sections as qualifying is right about done here, Arjuna.
So for the first time in the month of May, we get the privilege of going trackside to take a look at our starting grid here in round 9 of the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. On pole position then, Yao Vaz for Yas Heat once more with a 1:11.193 will take us to the green flag. Alongside will be Adam Crane, the VRS Satellite Racing team. Adam Blocker inside of row 2 as he looks to secure some much needed championship points in his effort in this series. Philip Kraus will line up on the outside in the purple and silver with Henry Bennett. Christian Steele, row number 3. It's Premislav Lemonek for the R8G Esports team in the number 1 machine on the inside of Cesare Manzado, with Vilde-Wallen and Adam State rounding out the top 10. Andrew Wood and Liam Quinn in 11th and 12th respectively. A team talent row number 6 with Severi Seppa and Andrew Marquez row 7. Marquez is up into 3rd in the championship. Interesting battle with Brendan Lichtenberg, who will line up behind him in 15th alongside Connor Harrington, the private label Team Hype, who won just last week in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Jacob Oster in a top split on a Monday night. Good to see him inside of Rashad Craig, row number 9 there, with Ethan McNichol and Riley Thompson, 19th and 20th. Timothy Vaughan and Adam Seltzer, row 11 on the grid, with Dylan Roberts and Nate Hayden, the final row. All 24 cars, Lorenzo, setting a qualifying lap time. Now let's take a look at what that pace difference looks like out on track.
Yeah, let's take a look on what the difference will be on the track. I'm just taking a quick look over here. Pace was right about on the 1 second from first all the way up into P16. So very close grid so far. I can even count Jacob Oster and Rashad Craig in the mix, even Ethan McNichol over here. So it's going to be a very interesting race. Those first 5 laps, I think they're going to set the tone to what will be the other 35 laps of this race.
And so the fuel window, about 21, 22 laps, and in a 40-lap sprint then here at the Brickyard, Lorenzo, there's a little bit of strategy that might come into consideration. You talked about the difficulty of dirty air slightly earlier. It does also mean that fuel saving is going to be very important for drivers further back in the pack.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be really key. Some drivers might try to even go for a 20th third lap. I personally would go for 21 laps, where it would be very golden in terms of tires and rubber. tires, rubber, and fuel, to be very honest. But it's those wide open races. I think it is more wide open than what we saw in Barber and also in Long Beach, and even more than Coda, because Coda is a very lengthy track and you cannot save fuel like you can over here.
David Lawrence in the YouTube chat. As we are watching this Indy GP, let's get the long overdue rescan of IMS. We would not have this left-right hairpin switchback section. It would be a much nicer little experience down onto the back straightaway. There was a trip scheduled out to Indiana in 2020, but unfortunately, global pandemic put rest to that. Hopefully, the iRacing team will get trackside access this year, and hopefully we'll get a new version of this track very soon. Not necessarily the biggest fan of this layout, Lorenzo, but let's see how it's going to race here today. It's a long 1.5 mile run from the exit of turn 11, which, let's be real, is the final corner that we're really going to call a corner here today, all the way down into turn 1. That's the primary passing opportunity. That's where the push to pass comes into play.
Yeah, that's where the main pass opportunity will be. I think everybody's going to just waste out a push to pass on that main straight, because on the back straight, you really don't get that much opportunity unless you go at the very tail end of that corner. But we're going to get ready to start over here. I can't wait to what these 4 laps will do to the traffic of the drivers.
Well, the Porsche safety car about to pull onto the safety of the pit road. Driver of the day in the ISOWC 2021 season round 1, as voted by the fans on Twitter. We now have to give him a name. The question also is, what does he call his car? All of those will hopefully be answered in the coming few days. The answer now that we will get is who wins here at the Brickyard is already on the push to pass, like Lorenzo said. Basically the entirety of the top 6. Crane has to defend from Adam Blocker as across the start-finish line they work 2 wide, almost 4 wide back in the pack as Brendan Lichtenberg has to defend from a number of cars looking to the inside. Henry Bennett loses a position to Przemysław Lamenek, who's already up into the top 5. In through turn 1, we work, Lorenzo. It looks like everyone's safely through the first corner.
Yeah, it got a little bit confusing at the back because Jacob, guys nearly went 4 wide in between 1 and 2. Jacob Osser lost 2 positions, and somebody got really slow at the very back. I think that is Timothy Vaughan, and now 3 car pile up on the exit out of 4.
It's Adam Seltzer, Timothy Vaughan, and Ethan McNichol. We'll take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay at the conclusion of lap 1. Down, though, at the end of the back straight, it's Philip Kraus applying pressure to the back of Adam Blocker for a podium position. They managed to scamper away from Lemonak very slightly. And now, through turn 11, onto the main straightaway, 1.5 miles they have to work. On the button for the second time today is Yao Vaz and Adam Crane. That will be crucial, Lorenzo, because Adam Blocker hasn't got onto the button this time around. Philip Kraus has been the most restrained of them all.
Yeah, and we saw what Kraus basically was also doing in the race, basically just working the draft in the ISOWC. Now he's made the move in the inside of Adam Blocker. I don't know if Adam Blocker is going to be very aggressive. Actually, Kraus just backs off and let Blocker take the line once again, retaining 3rd place for now.
And into the race lead goes the Canadian Adam Crane, past Yao Vaz. Both of these drivers aggressively trying to get to the front of the field. You were talking about it, Lorenzo, before we came on air. Tire wear is also crucial for cars to manage here today, and you were finding peak grip on lap 3 and 4, and as you start working towards the end of that 20-lap fuel window, you do start to feel the tires burning off.
Yeah, you do. I was basically getting the tires fall off, drop off, or whatever you want to say it, right about lap 10 to 11, where the tires get a little bit loose. The car is going to get lighter, of course. And in some of the turns, you have to take a little bit more of an extra caution into it, because the car just gets so slidey, and you cannot adjust weight jackers like you do in the oval. So you might have to do slight adjustments on the anti-roll bar to make the car a little more understeery and save those tires to the bitter end.
On the button is Vaz once more, burning through 3 of his 10 uses as we come across the line to complete lap number 2, putting himself into a bit of a hole. Take a look further back as Andrew Wood defends from Adam State, edge of the top 10. That's right in front of Cesare Manzato. Woodith now up into the top 10, with Adam State holding on just for now. Let's take a look then at those replays while the cars work their way down in through the infield section here. First up, let's take a look at what happened with Adam Seltzer. There's already damage there, you can see. And ooh, the PNC Bank Dallara IR18, Lorenzo, just comes across the track. Seltzer, nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think he got really slow right around the track. Was touching the back and just lost his team one. Just got really loose and couldn't do anything about it. That is a normal race, a normal unfortunate race incident, but that caused the exit out of 3 cars.
Take a look at this aerial look brought to us by ATVO, graphical partners at RaceSpotTV. Just typical start chaos there, and I think maybe Timothy Vaughan with a slight issue. And
I think that is Ethan that actually got the issue, Arjuna.
It's a bit. Some of these cars for the first time on a Monday night. Great to see them, but not having the easiest of debuts. Back to live coverage. Let's jump because Yao Vaz on the button once more. Already burnt through half of his usages.
Coda strategy.
It's true, that was the Coda strategy, but Lorenzo, at a track like this where draft is going to keep the likes of Adam Blocker in play, even if he does fuel saving to the extreme, not sure I agree with the strategy from the Yas Heat driver.
I agree as well. You're basically burning everything that you have on the very first 4 laps of this race. And
ooh, that's Phil DeWallen. Excuse me, exit of turn 3, Lorenzo. Off through the gravel. Good hands there from the Swedish driver to save that car. And let's go take a look at why she was shoved off. Looks like very aggressively as well here, Lorenzo. We saw a mistake slightly earlier in qualifying, I believe. Now let's take a look at this one.
Yeah, going through 3 and 4, one of the VRS satellite cars, that's the number 10 of Adam's stage, just getting side by side, and they just got this together. State's car just understeers into Volin, and nothing she could do about it.
Well, I think State trying an opportunistic move down the inside as well as Andrew Wood, gets on pass. Back to live pictures. Adam Crane responds, trying to pull away on the button now across the start-finish line. Gap now up to 0.6 of a second, and that extends the gap back to 3rd and 4th even further, Lorenzo. And you can start to see there is gaps starting to form between these front-running cars.
Yeah, gap in between the front runners are about 0.6 of a second between 1st and 2nd, 0.8 between 2nd and 3rd, and it fluctuates between half a second to 7.7 seconds from Blocker to Kraus. So there is a good gap relatively between 1st and 4th, and then 5th it's kind of far away. He's back 3 seconds, but then again, it's those strategies, and I think Kraus is in a prime position right now this early on in the race. Hasn't used one single push to pass yet.
Blocker as well in a very good position, only having burnt through one of his usages as we ride on board with the number 2 machine. Was looking like he might have had a top 5 finish at one point in this weekend's ISOWC race until caution maybe interrupted his strategy and the late race incident dropped him out of the top 10 completely. Still looking like he might get a chance here. Let's jump back to Connor Harrington because he's getting on the button for the very first time as he pulls up behind his teammate Andrew Wood. The 44 machine, at least on the car, 12 in the simulator, pulls to the outside, Lorenzo, across the start-finish line. Don't think Andrew Wood's going to fight this one too hard.
No, he's not. He's going to tuck back into the draft and just try to save a slight amount of fuel behind his teammate as Connor Harrington goes from P9 all the way from P9 to P8.
This is an important championship battle. There's Andrew Marquez in the 16. Lichtenberg has gotten on past. They are fighting for 3rd place in this championship. Riley Thompson trying to get on past as well. We jump on board with the TDR driver, applying all sorts of pressure in through the left-hand hairpin, throws the move to the inside, doesn't commit under the brakes. Marquez will hold on to the 14th position for now. Some interesting battles getting stacked up on the edge of the top 10 right now. And a reminder that racespot.wtf/Indy. You can follow along with live timing and scoring for your favorite drivers. No compound requirement in this race, Lorenzo, and so we haven't really talked about the track conditions just yet. Even though it's 44 degrees Celsius, I would expect drivers to only stick on the red mark tire.
Yeah, they're going to stick to the red mark. There is no benefit for you going into the black tire compound, into the black mark. But we definitely going to see that in the IIS because there's also this weekend as well. But I think the drivers are going to be focused within the fixed 500, which is also this weekend coverage brought to you by RaceSpot as well. So I don't know how the strategy would be on the long run, but for this specific race, is red compounds all the way.
Interested is the word I would use about the fixed 500 this year. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to go. It's going to be hot. Track conditions blistering, 130 degrees Fahrenheit in terms of track temperature last time I checked. Qualifying is underway, so if you want to give that a chance, get equal machine with everyone on the iRacing service. You can see exactly where your driving skills stand up with the best of the best. And get your iRacing career started today, iRacing.com. Battle for the top 3, by the way, still very close. Kraus is dropping off the tail end here, 1.6 adrift. Feels the need to get onto the button to respond. It's Adam Blocker who is hunting these cars down, and with points in the back of his mind, excuse me, Lorenzo. I don't know how aggressive he's going to be here. He might look to try and do something in pit road. Very content to ride around right now.
Yeah, I think they're very content. I think none of them are being aggressive at this point of the race. Blocker has the best advantage between those 3 cars. Still has just used one push to pass, which was the very one at the start of the race, and now they're just giving themselves 1 plus 1 other. Looks like the setup they have are meant to run in the dirty air. So for now, they're doing really good work with that setup.
Almost 3 wide for a moment. Severi Seppa and Liam Quinn still side by side with, I believe that's Cesare Manzato. The Hyperstar is sideways, contact with Riley Thompson. And I think 2 cars will be making trips down onto pit road. It all started slightly earlier with, I believe it was Manzato who got sideways through turn 2, Lorenzo. Let's go straight to the RaceSpotTV replay if we can.
Yeah, let's take a look at it, because that was a very weird incident. I think I know what happened, because the guy's going to see they're coming up into turn number 1. Connor is a little bit farther in the back. They get really close. There is this light touch between the drivers. They slow down to allow each other to get back on the track, and then you can see Harrington far in the back. Goes for, I think, a very opportunistic dive, but the car just get really loose midway through the turn. And Riley couldn't do anything about it. Had to hit the car face first.
Jump back to live coverage if we can. Let's see what that's done, in relation to the rest of the cars. Manzato and Quinn back on the button, with Seppa in 12th. Craig and Marquez are dueling it out side by side in the braking zone of turn 1. Around the outside, Richard Quaig in the 18 machine sweeps around into 13th position. I think behind him as well, Nate Hayden, teammate for Andrew Marquez, might try and do the same. There's Seppo, supremely confident is the Finn, and around the outside of the purple Team Talent machine, Seppa now hunts down Manzato in front. Jump back to the front, though. This is where things are getting spicy, Lorenzo. Look at how much pressure Yao Vaz is putting onto the back of the race leader.
Let's take a look and see as he goes into the second to last turn, because they're now coming into the oval, which I'm going to say this is the final turn of the race. Of the track, and see if he's going to engage the push to pass, but the Portuguese driver just going to use the job for now and contend with saving fuel as best as he can.
On the button is Christian Steele, who I believe has dropped down the order, now running in 5th as the Steely Rocket Machine.
He ran off wide, actually, Arjuna.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a look at what happens here as Manzato, they're dueling it out for 10th position. Steele on the button to defend. Can he be the last of the late breakers as side-by-side further back as well? This is some incredible racing early in the week. Championship points very much at the forefront of drivers' mind. Craig and Liam Quinn still duking it out. There was almost contact between Nate Hayden and Vilde Wallen behind as well. All of this action on the edge of the top 10, Lorenzo. Here comes around the outside Richard Craig as well.
Yeah, let's take a look and see if Craig's going to make that move. Not going to be able to. He's going to play patient, but that brings Andrew Marquez now into this fray, turned into a 3-car battle. And Arjuna, just correct me, is that tripod loose?
That's what I had just noticed as well. I did not even pick up on it before. This onboard look.
Mention it.
Look at this onboard look, Lorenzo. That is damage to the purple Team Talent machine. Now we know why there's a 3-second gap between Seppa and Quinn for 11th and 12th.
Yeah, I think that was the resulting touch that he had with Manzato at the exit on turn 1 and 2, and that is going to accrue so much time loss for Liam Quinn. But the problem is he cannot pit right now. We're on lap 11 going to 12, so if he pits right now, he's going to need an extra lap, and his whole race will go to shambles.
Back out front, gap extending between Crane, Vaz, and Blocker. 1 second between each of the top 3 contenders. Crane got on the button down the main straightaway as well. I think Nate Hayden having a bit of an issue, or at least getting passed by a couple of cars. Before we go take a look at some of that action, let's go take a look at what happened to the purple i5G machine. Christian Steele, who just missed out on qualifying for the first round of the excuse me, even I'm getting tongue twisted there. ISOWC Just coming through turn 11, all sorts of sideways. Take a look at the onboard look as well here. Using a lot of that inside curb, Lorenzo, and just not managing that right foot carefully enough.
Yeah, that right foot just gets very aggressive on the very exit of the corner into the last corner off the track, and Steele's cars just get really loose. No bottoming out whatsoever, but might be affected the tire rubber and the track conditions that are allowing that rubber to be within very high temps.
Crane is breaking out of draft advantage once more on the button. He's down to just 4 uses left with over 27 laps to go. Vaz falls to 1.8 seconds back, with Adam Blocker still 9/10 further back from that. We will turn attention back to some of the action. Liam Quinn continues to get swarmed down this pit straight. Here comes Dylan Roberts. Here comes Nate Hayden as well, potentially. Hayden, thinks better of that. Wallen very close under the brake. Let's jump on board with Jacob Oster here as well. Great to see him in a top split. Had some wonderful photos from this past weekend's action. And is getting a great look, Lorenzo, from the cockpit now as well.
You can look at the traffic ahead of him. Everybody battling for position. You can see Vilda in front of him. Then Nate Hayden trying to defend from Vilda. And then 2 places up is Liam Quinn and Dylan Roberts. And not far behind him, I think there's someone else looming large within his back wing.
I must say, Lorenzo, we don't necessarily like to drive around this layout, but it does, at times, produce some interesting races. And for, I think, some of these guys, Liam Quinn in particular, he's having to defend pretty hard from the damage he's got, but now attacking as well, all over. And what color would he call that? Bronze, gold in front of him.
Yeah, the bronze gold from Dylan Roberts. But the problem is, I don't know if he's going to be effective enough to get closer and make the move. I think that is just going to bring Nate Hayden really close to him, as he has only two push-to-passes to go. And maybe go for a dive here on turn number 1.
Quinn is struggling in top-end performance, almost 15 kilometers an hour slower, as deep under the brakes is the 17 of Hayden. Wallen tries to do the over-under in towards turn 3. Doesn't commit to it just yet. Oh, front wing missing for a car further back, if I saw that correctly, Lorenzo. Or is that maybe just the paint scheme on the car?
Maybe the paint scheme, unless... I know you've been seeing things, Arjuna, but your eyesight has been better than mine these days.
No. Unfortunately, I was just seeing things there. That was the front wing was black and another color, just blended into the road. There you can see it's the 22 that got me all sorts of confused there. Working their way through this left section that feels awful. That 22 car all over the rear end right now. Not sure that's for position. Might just be for track position. Out front, driver's getting more and more aggressive on the button. Christian Steele down to just 3 uses left as he tries to defend from Cesare Manzato behind. While out front, Yao Vaz hasn't felt the urge to abuse the extra 70 horsepower he gets, Lorenzo. Gap now back down to just 1 second.
Yeah, looming around the 1 second. I think one that is we need to watch in a little bit might be Philip Krause defending from Marek Lemonek and Henry Bennett, because Krause just lost a little bit of pace in comparison to Lemonek and Bennett themselves. So they're getting closer, and they use at least one push to pass to get closer to Krause, and Krause had to defend, had to use one push to pass in the past 3 laps.
Look at how smooth Vaz is being right now. That's that experience from the World Championship days. Not throwing, not thrashing the car around, sticking in the draft. That 1.5 mile run all the way down from the exit of turn 11. Now working through turn 13, across the start-finish line the wrong way. We will return, Lorenzo, this coming weekend. You mentioned it, the iRacing Fixed 500. Sage Karam won it 12 months ago. Will be interesting to see what happens here. I think Christian Steele, Cesare Manzato, what's happened? Disaster to the steel number purple machine. There's heavy damage to the front wing there. He will have to pull to the side of the track. Look at Manzato. No major damage there, Lorenzo. Straight to the RaceSpotTV replay. Take a look at what happens here.
And looking again at the replay, is basically within the same complex we had some issues, and I think the car just gets it clips the grass and just couldn't save anything afterwards. And Manzato was just the first guy on scene, couldn't do anything about it to save that front wing of steel, unfortunately. Oh,
and he goes off into the grass, but fortunately able to get onto the pit entry, or excuse me, pit exit if you are driving around the oval configuration. Wonder if he's going to scattered the cones there as he made his way through the shortcut. Back to live coverage. Vilda Wallen for Three Crowns Racing with the Indy Alliance defends from Hayden with Quinn behind. Trying to now pick up exactly what's been happening here. Back towards the battle that you were just mentioning, but not towards Lemonak closing on Kraus. It's Henry Bennett putting the pressure onto the R8G machine across the start-finish line. The British Racing green car down to the inside, Lorenzo, and up into the top 5.
Yeah, easy word from Henry Bennett to make the move now on Marek Lemonak and the Polish driver out of RWG Esports. Just couldn't do anything to defend about it, but the gap between Bennett and Kraus now increases to right around the second. Kraus from Team Talent can breathe a little bit easier now.
So let's talk a little bit about strategy here. Push to pass first. Let's talk about that. You can see left side of the screen as Lemonak a bit wide through the left-hand sweeper. Crane down to just 4 uses left. Nick Hayden down to just a solitary push to get himself through the next 23 laps. That will be difficult as he's fighting very close with Wallen and Marquez up the road there. Other strategy considerations though, Lorenzo. Let's talk about the way that people have made their way up through track position here. Qualifying was important further back in the pack for some of these cars. Connor Harrington, 9 positions gained here. Biggest mover on the day though, Dylan Roberts, 11 positions up into 12th spot.
Has some good move ups and downs in the field. Roberts actually got away with a few scraps that happened at the very start of the race and move up a few spots, but his pace alone as well has been really good in the past 5 laps. But the strategy we're seeing is basically kind of a repeat what we saw in Coda. It mixed up, I want to say maybe with Long Beach for some of these drivers, you know, conserving as much as you can towards the final portion. I think I see a card off. I think that is Philip Kraus that is off on turn number 4.
It is Kraus, but let's take a look at this for now. Wallen gets on past Marquez, and we will go straight to the RaceSpotTV replay if we can. Kraus rejoins in 8th, and let's take a look at if there's damage to that car. Looks clean to me, Lorenzo. Wonder if it was just a bit of a mistake, much like we saw with Steele slightly earlier on, and indeed off into the grass for the Team Talent driver.
Yeah, grass is lava over here, so he clumped the grass very slightly, but that is within the braking zone. It's basically a slight tap on the brakes, and you throw the car into number 4. But Kraus just did that right as it was braking. But good reactions out of the Team Talent driver to keep that car on track and not lose a whole lot of spots in its process.
Well, and I'd say there, no shortage of talent to catch that car, Lorenzo, because for a moment that was heading in a very precarious position. Let's jump back to the live pictures then and see what exactly is happening as we approach the halfway marker in this race and expect the first and only round of pit stops here. It's a relatively short 40-lap race. And like you said earlier, Lorenzo, if drivers want a slightly longer challenge, the iRacing IndyCar Series will be at the Brickyard this week as well.
Yeah, we'll be at the Brickyard basically replicating what the real-life race has to come up. So it's going to be really interesting what the long-term strategies will be, how effective will be the black tire, the black Brent compound. I'm still going to get that right someday, Arjuna. I'm still a beginner in the IR18 and the IndyCar world, so I'm still learning the ins and outs out of this car. So it's going to be a really interesting race nevertheless. Can't wait to see. But unfortunately, I don't think the presence of field, the strength of field will be big because there is a bigger event at the same time.
That's true indeed. Liam Quinn came down onto pit road a lap ago, back down this time around as well. So clearly damage not fixed on the purple number 18 Talent car. On board with Lemonak as Philip Kraus down onto pit road this time around. So the pit road is open, Lorenzo. Interesting call though from Kraus to come down first.
Yeah, interesting call. I think after the mistake he's made, I think he realized that the tires were pretty much shot, and I think the only thing he could do about getting good spots might have been the undercut. We'll see.
Jacob Oster, you can see background of the shot, follows him down as well. Maybe just struggling with the tires at this point, Lorenzo. Let's see. Take a look at what happens in the box. There we go. That's what I was expecting, Lorenzo. Onto the black mark tires for Philip Kraus. Let's see what he could do, because this past weekend, Lorenzo, we saw, for the first time, if you ask me, the black mark tire in the first round of the ISOWC coming into effect, and it was Valtteri Alander, the Finn, that mastered those tires and ran away with the lead of this race. Philip Kraus might set the trend.
Yeah, but one of the differences that in the ISOWC, he had to go for the black mark compound, right? He had at least to go for it once. And I'm seeing other drivers in the pit lane. Apparently, I think Jacob Oster just came out of pit lane, and some other car, I think that's Liam Quinn, just came out of repairs as well. But the thing we really want to see is this lead battle, because Vaz late stint has been nothing short of amazing here, Arjuna.
Crane, I think, thought he had the advantage. What's happened to Riley Thompson now as we enter the pit cycle? Another one to be discussing the heat buildup in the tires. Let's see if that's what's been happening here on the exit onto the back straightaway. Yes, just the right foot traction control, not saving the 13 car, and Riley Thompson, might expect him down onto pit road this time around. There's Severi Seppa in the 6 machine. He's down onto the road, almost halfway through this race.
Crane's car is looking very sluggish.
And I was just going to say, that gap is coming all the way down, Lorenzo. Are we expecting Adam Crane to come down this time around?
He already said he's coming into the pit, so Adam Crane will pit it right now. I think that is one of the trickiest pit entries we have in the calendar.
It's a heavy braking zone from high speed. Blocker cycles into second. Both Vaz and Blocker on the push to pass, Lorenzo. Let's see what Adam Crane does in pit road now.
Yeah, and finally, actually, they do something that is very similar they did in Coda. Both of them using a push to pass after someone pit stopping. But here's the thing: one of them was in the lead, which is Vaz back in Coda. Adam Blocker was the chaser, and they were trying to do their best. And now Blocker with a massive lock into basically turn number 6, heading into 7. But looking so far, Vaz might have the upper hand here before they come to the pit lane.
Well, Crane does not switch onto the red mark tires, rejoins right in the thick of traffic. He will slot in front of the Loose Nut Racing duo of Marquez and Hayden. What can he do now to get those tires up to temperature and pressure? He will know it's going to have to go slightly longer as well. Lemonick and Harrington came in behind Adam Crane. And Philip Kraus on the black mark tires cycled out behind Lemonick and Harrington. What can he do then in the closing stages? Here comes Vaz. Here comes Blocker getting down onto pit road. You can't afford to lock up. Vaz a bit more conservative than Blocker, Lorenzo. That might have cost him a couple of tenths of a second.
Yeah, it might have cost him a tenth of a second. And then again, it's you said it not long ago. It's a heavy braking zone. Oh, Harry Bennett actually stays out. So interesting strategy again for Harry Bennett, going for a late pit stop once again. But heavy braking zone, you might get to lose the car, especially with the worn out rubber. But then again, aggressiveness sometimes pays off.
Crane is stuck behind Vilde Wallen, getting on the button now as well to try and get the move done.
Blocker.
Blocker misses his box slightly. How is that going to affect him? Vaz off the jacks. And he's on the red mark tires. Where is Crane in relation? He's used now almost all of his push to passes, sweeping around the outside. Crane retakes the race lead, but now has to defend Lorenzo.
Yeah, and Adam Blocker's on the black marks, so 2 drivers on the black marks over here early. Not early, but the midway point through the race.
Interesting strategy call there. Let's see if that cycles out in his favor. Take a look at the track conditions, which you can follow through Timing 71, RaceSpot.wtf/Indy to head over there. You can see it is up 2 degrees, Lorenzo. So we are now at 46 degrees in terms of track temperature.
Yeah, we're up a little bit, but that is going to just make it worse on the tires on the late stint right now. So you're going to build up more heat eventually. That's a natural thing, but the problem is maintaining that compound heat and keep it at an optimal level is going to be much harder. Expect many mistakes or the possibility of major mistakes towards that latter portion of the stint.
Crane on the button. Vaz responds as well. Crane is down to just 2 uses left. How will that affect his strategy in the closing stages? Because Vaz will have a couple of opportunities to maybe try something different, but the gap is slowly extending because Crane had the advantage of tires up to temperature and pressure, Lorenzo. It's going to have to equalize out in the closing stages, and we saw just how confident Vaz was on worn tires.
Yeah, he was really confident, especially those final 3 laps he had prior to the pit stop were some of his best laps with worn out tires. So the Aussie driver is prepared to actually get closer and put the pressure on the VRS satellite driver. So if I'm Adam Crane, I would be slightly concerned right now with the pace of Voss.
Through the left, lots of curb used by the 4 machine, not so much through the second part. And almost plants half of his car to the inside of the curb there. On through turn 11, then onto the main straightaway. Does Vaz get on the button? No, he does not. Yes, he does, excuse me. They are now equalized. 2 uses left, Lorenzo. They have been burning through them. And if Adam Blocker can come on through with the black mark tires in the closing stages of this race, they will have, we talked about push to defend a week ago at the Lone Star State. Same principle will apply here. Nothing to defend for the leading duo.
Yeah, and basically we saw Blocker using those push-to-passes at the very basically the final 7 laps or 5 laps of the race and trying to be aggressive with it, but he just couldn't capitalize and get closer to João Vaz in the Lone Star State. I think it might work a little bit in here for him because he might have slightly better rubber. But the problem for Blocker, early on, he already locked the brakes at the exit of the pit lane. But talking about Vaz, he's nearly getting closer into Adam Crane. Gap down to 1.5 seconds.
Tower illuminating further down the field as well. Christian Steele, Riley Thompson coming back down onto pit road after some damage on their cars. It was Wallen and Marquez getting on the button, so those two continuing to duel it out. That will be an interesting call. Gap between Vaz and Crane, 1.3, with a couple further seconds to Adam Blocker continuing to struggle on the red mark tires. It was 7/10 last time around. Wait for the lap time as through the final corner come Crane and Vaz. Adam State, I do believe, will be the lap traffic in front. The lap time for Crane is a 1:12.615. Yao Vaz has taken 7/10 out of him, a 1:11.942, quickest lap of the race so far. As Adam Blocker, a 1:13.098, Lorenzo. He lost 4/10 to Adam Crane, 1.1 to Yao Vaz in second.
Just boggles my mind that João Vaz is basically doing qualify laps early this on in the race and being effective with it. Gaps are right below 1 second. The problem for Adam Crane is that he has a driver ahead of him as a little bit of a problem. I think that is Adam State, his teammate, if you're at satellite, just clears off both him and João Vaz. So now Vaz is going to have clear track to work that better rubber in terms of acceleration and speed against Adam Crane.
Got a couple of replays once more to take a look at, not of incidents. This time it's just good, hard racing. The team talent duo of Kraus and Wood swap around. Wood hasn't got the message to get the new colors on the car. Wonderful new team talent livery to take a look at for Philip Kraus. Second replay, it's Connor Harrington, drive of his life so far, getting on past the power slide driver of Henry Bennett. I'm sure championship points in the backbone of Bennett's mind as tries to reclaim the championship that he's won an incredible number of occasions. Here is Riley Thompson, still damage I would assume to that car, locks the inside front into the wall. I think day done for the Total Downforce Racing number 13. Back to live coverage. 4/10 separates your top 2 contenders here, Lorenzo. It's going to be a race at the end between these 2 cars.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle, a grueling battle to the finish. And you can see Vaz basically lurking on the back wing out of the VRS satellite driver. He's not going to use the push the pass over here, but he's going to point the car towards the inside of number 8 and just going to tuck back behind Adam Crane. If I'm Adam Crane, I would be rattling in my boots right now.
And well, you knew he came down 1 lap earlier as well, Lorenzo. So as Vaz gets onto the button, this is going to be crucial. Because if he can get on past, he's not going to have that opportunity to defend. Crane responds. He saw the acceleration, but draft to the advantage of the Yas Heat machine. A winner 1 week ago from the Lone Star State. What can he do now? In towards turn 1. Open setup as well, so a different downforce level. Vaz unable to get alongside. Lost to the late break as he throws the move to the inside. Crane will defend on the outside. Too wide through turn 2. Not always going to work here. It's still Vaz with the momentum, and it's Vaz into the race lead, Lorenzo.
Great move from João Vaz. Slightly, you could say slightly aggressive, but Adam Crane gave him the room. You know, very polite from Adam Crane, trying to defend as hard as he could. But unfortunately, Jean Vos' pace was just blistering. Just let the VRS satellite eat dust in turn number 1 and 2. I thought they could have got themselves together, but they proved me wrong.
And now can he break away as well? And each of them only with one use of the button left, Lorenzo. They are in a difficult position of not having that additional strategic element, to really save them in a wheel-to-wheel battle. So for Adam Crane, who now sees Vaz get onto the bottom for that final time, he's going to have to respond fairly quickly.
And Jean Vos needs to actually clear himself up quickly, because I'm looking over here at Adam Blocker as well. He's been on the 113 ones and 113 really lows since he came out of the pit lane. 113.1, 113.1. He might have go for a 112.9 over here. So I think at the second half of this stint, I think Adam Blocker might be someone you have to look into and say, oh, he might become a factor towards the win. We'll see.
So Vaz looks to make it 2 wins in a row for a Monday night in this iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. It's Andrew Wood getting on the button as well as he extends the gap to his teammate behind. Right on board with the British Racing Green of Henry Bennett, working through turn 3. This is where, in the real world, drivers will peel off to the left this coming Saturday in the Indy Grand Prix Live. But this time we work through this left-hand hairpin. Feels like an age before you can try and get onto the power. The same with this right-hand sweeper, that you can use more of the track than you think you can, Lorenzo. If you take too much of it, you will get a slowdown penalty.
Yeah, if you basically hit the board on the exit of number 6, you basically got a 1.1 second slowdown. Well, for some people, it might not seem much. In a track like this, 1 second is a lifetime, so you really don't want to get that. So there's a specific line you have to take, as we're looking towards Murrah, Lemonek's back wing, because he has some cars hungry to get that position from him.
Harrington up 11 on the day so far, searches for one more on the button as we come across the start-finish line. He did mention it slightly earlier in the battle for the race lead. Open setup, so there will be different downforce levels on these cars. Harrington able to pull alongside the RHE driver, and under the brakes, Lemonek has to tuck back in, and you have to watch out for Henry Bennett to try and get the move done as well, Lorenzo. That was Harrington, very confident in the car he's got underneath him. Now can he search to close the 7.5 seconds to Adam Blocker in front.
Yeah, the private label driver is really comfortable in that car. Basically, I think he found a really good setup that kind of balances it out, how to drive within the dirty air and also the clean air, and making the most work out of it. And now Henry Bennett looks a little bit aggressive towards Lemonek. He's not going to go for a move on over here. That would be crazy for you to move off into the end of sector 2 to 3. But I totally see Henry Bennett pushing that button as they come out of the second to last turn.
These 3 cars separated by 0.4 of a second exiting turn 11. Lemonek and Bennett on the button as well. All 3 of these cars have 1 usage left. The RHE driver makes it 2 wide. Does the Powerslide driver make it 3 wide as we come through the final corner? Almost contact. Bennett's front wing goes for a ride, but it might still be there. It does indeed reattach itself. The RHE driver up a position. Bennett tries to force his way aggressively down the inside, but Harrington is having none of it, Lorenzo, and defends the 5th position.
Yeah, defense P5, that got a little bit dicey at a certain specific point. I thought they were actually going to cause a major crash at the start-finish line, and shades of the 500, you know, going 3 wide, but boys, the 500 is the opposite direction for you to go 3 wide.
That's what I was just going to say as well. I was wondering which way Bennett was going to sling the move. Take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay. There was a hole for a moment that then disappeared very quickly. You can see here as well. That's Bennett trying to search to the inside, and Harrington says, no thank you, I'm going to hold on to this position. One more replay, I think, to take a look at. Maybe 2. Starting down into turn 1. Ooh, that's Ethan McNichol deep under the brakes into turn 1. Lucky not to take out at least 1, if not 2 cars. Scampers on through the grass, shortcutting turn 2 for Jacob Oster. What's happened to him? Take a look through the left-hand hairpin. Car was not looking comfortable, Lorenzo, and he noses agonizingly into the tire barriers.
Nothing he could do about it. Oster, unfortunately, you know, he was having a really good promising start, had to tuck back into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Bennett just tried to go for the inside move on Connor Harrington. Harrington with a good defense, shoving off Bennett towards 1 and 2, retaining that 5th place once again.
And we will jump back to the live pictures right now and pick up the battle there on the edge of the top 5. It's Lemonette, Harrington, and Bennett still in order. Vaz and Crane, the gap now is 3 seconds out front. The Portuguese driver looking odds on for another victory here with 10 laps to go. It is Blocker who's closing in on Crane in second. He might be getting the points that he is very much focusing on getting. Still the battle here between Lemonette, Harrington, and Bennett. The question I have is which driver is going to be most aggressive on the push to pass here, Lorenzo?
Good question, because Bennett used his push to pass on the previous lap. I can totally see Connor not using on this one. Going to try to stay for maybe the final 5 laps of this race, 1 per use, and then rely on draft on the final one. I think the one is going to be starting using 1 per lap as of now. Might be Adam Blocker, still has 8, and he's getting closer to Adam Crane.
Yeah, I did mention gap now 3.6 seconds as those cars work their way through the opening couple of corners. Take a look at the battles further back. There were some rather intriguing scraps between a number of cars 10th through 20th at one point, but attrition has started to play a bit of a factor. 24 starters now down to just 15 cars on the lead lappers. Who's that going slowly? Ooh, it's just the VRS car of Adam State. Wondered if it was Crane who had some sort of damage there, but it's just the lapped car pulling out of the way for the cars in front. Retirements, Riley Thompson, Jacob Oster, and it looks like Christian Steele might be done as well. He's back down onto pit road for at least the 3rd, if not 4th time today. Other cars circulating laps down, Liam Quinn, Brendan Lichtenberg. We just saw Adam State with Adam Stelzer, Timothy Vaughan, and Ethan McNichol trying to get to the green flag. The checkered flag, as Lemonette darting to the inside, trying to cut off the draft. Left side of the screen, Lorenzo. Push to pass usages once more. Take a look at how the drivers have been rationing them out.
Yeah, the majority of the drivers nearly on the tail end of the 10 push to passes they have. The only big exception might be Vilde Vollen and Adam Blocker over here, still with 7 and 8 left. 8 for Adam Blocker, 7 for Vollen, and 6. Vilde just used her 7th push to pass, so she has 6 left. So Blocker still only one which has very, very push to passes to use.
That's true. Here, by the way, is Lichtenberg and Quinn. So Quinn, we saw the damage to the left side part of the car, Lorenzo. Let's take a look if we can. It's fixed. I don't think, though, the damage, at least the true extent of the damage, has been completely repaired, because Quinn still appears to be slightly slower than the rest of the cars around, and the lap time last time was a 1:15 and 9:04. So a bit of an indication. The new damage model, it does let you get away with a bit more than you could in the past, but you're still going to be slightly slower. Quinn as well on the black mark tires, maybe a slight factor. Another car on the black mark tires on the button as well, Lorenzo, closing the gap to the Canadian in second position.
Finally uses one of his push to pass, basically done what he's trying to do at Coda. But then he actually has real good margins to get closer to Adam Crane and make the move. He's been on, again, one of those 113 lows averages, whereas Adam Crane has been struggling to find the grip. 13.8, 13.5 for the VRS satellite driver. So there is a good chance that the Adam Blocker could swap positions at the very end of the race.
Side by side, it's Lemonette and Harrington still, as around the outside, the RHE driver gets the move done. He'll have the inside for the next part of the corner. This is very close with just 7 laps to go. Henry Bennett might try and take advantage. All of this fighting, Lorenzo, means that 12 seconds behind the hunt for the podium positions right now. This is not the kind of stuff that you want if you're the race strategist in the year. It is fun for us to talk about here today.
It's been fun to talk about this today, those different strategies. Adam Blocker again using his push to pass in the meanwhile. But really good battle, really interesting. I can't wait to see what these final 5 laps of this race will have until for the three-way car battle.
And like you said, Blocker on the button once more. Now just 2 seconds adrift from Crane. So the points that he needs as he will head to the brickyard for trackside duties with Ilmore Engineering. Henry Bennett lurks in 6th. The Power Slide drivers duking it out, trying to retake the crown here in this IndyCar Open Championship that Brandon Traynor took away from them just a couple of months ago. 6 laps to go. Tension in the air, Lorenzo, because the pace between Adam Blocker and Yao Vaz is now 7/10 of a second between the two of them. So gap down to 5 seconds. If this trend continues, Blocker might still be searching for a race lead.
One thing is, we have that famous quote, reaching, getting closer to is one thing than overtaking. Of course, making up for my own words, overtaking is a whole different story. But Adam Blocker is making that work. He's gonna maybe use the push to pass. Once again, he uses that push to pass. Not surprised at all, and he's gonna get it within the realms of 1.5 of Adam Crane.
Closing down is the power slide driver. Looking ominous is that Snapper Blue. Track temperatures up to 47 degrees Celsius as well. So tires will be screaming out in agony. And Crane, who ducked down onto the lane 1 lap before Vaz in front, we're feeling the pain slightly earlier. It was aggressive defense from Harrington before. Is Bennett going to get his elbows out around the outside? No, he does not in the British Racing Green, but still, I think, very much still focused on championship points, Lorenzo. Philip Kraus on the black mark tires. Here comes Manzato down the inside, aggressively under the brakes into turn 1. Kraus is trying to cut him off, Lorenzo. Manzato trying to get the move done in through turn 3.
Yeah, it's going to be really tricky for you to make that move outside. Kraus blocks him off between 3 and 4. He's going to retain the lead for a little while, but Manzato looking really good. Last laps have been really consistent, so I can't wait to see what the number 7 car here in this grid will do to that Team Talent driver ahead of him.
Blocker is burning through the usages now. Gap down to 1.4 down on this main straightaway as we ride on board with Manzato in 9th position. Interesting battles then coming to a head with Blocker now across the start-finish line. Delta between him and Crane last time, half a second once more, Lorenzo. So he's going to be right on the tail of the number 6 car heading into the final 3 laps.
I think for Blocker, the thing he needs to do right now is focus on that P2. I think P1 is out of reach. He's very far away. He needs to basically shred 1 second per lap and have hopes and dreams that he can actually catch Jerome Vaz. The thing is, Adam Crane is a reality. Go for it. And all the points you can get from Harry Bennett, the better for Adam Blocker.
Onto the back straightaway then with 4 usages left on the button. Blocker has been timing this out, Lorenzo, because guess what? 4 laps to go as well. I think we know exactly what the strategy is for the number 2 car here coming onto this main straightaway.
Yeah, 1 push to pass per lap, and Adam Crane is the thing is, when will he use the push to pass to defend from Adam Blocker? And now Blocker uses the push to pass, not surprisingly, and Adam Crane still retaining that push to pass for himself.
So that 1 usage left that Crane has, and he is hanging on to it with both hands until he thinks it's absolutely necessary. Will he duck and dive to break the toe? Doesn't appear as though he's going to do so. Totally legal to do so as well. If you're not alongside one another. Into the braking zone, 3 laps to go, and the gap, 0.6 of a second. Blocker will have to be cautious, though, because for the next 3 weeks, Lorenzo, he's not going to be in a position to come back on a Monday night and compete. He has made some alternate arrangements to compete in the Lionheart IndyCar series as he searches for a 4th consecutive title in that championship, but not going to have the same ability to do so on a Monday night.
Yeah, especially with 3 very important rounds where you go into Atlanta and then Belle Isle and again into the Indy Oval, as Adam Blocker is now on the back wing of Adam Crane. Puts his car inside, applying pressure on the VRS satellite driver, but again, all the points for Adam Blocker will be necessary to try to retain as best he can the lead away from Harry Bennett.
Bennett still stuck in 6th, right on the tail of Harrington. That battle with Lemonak as well continues to intensify. On the button, though, is the power slide driver. Crane yet to respond. Across the line, it will be 2 laps to go for Yao Vaz in the lead of this race. 4 seconds clear of the battle that we're watching right now. Crane all the way to the inside wall as across the start-finish line they go. Lemonak and Harrington getting on the button as well, so they'll duel it out for 4th and 5th respectively into the braking zone. Last of the late breakers. Crane holds on, Lorenzo. Those red marked tires giving him just enough purchase to get into the corner.
And just enough grip to actually make it through 1 and 2 and surviving the incoming barrage of overtake opportunities that Adam Blocker will have. He goes for the inside Adam Blocker. No room whatsoever to make the movement. Meanwhile, you have this heated battle between Harrington, Marek, Lemonak, and Bennett again.
Harrington almost got the move done as well. Lemonak getting the elbows out, not taking it sitting down. Back to the battle for second. It will be white flag in the air, and we've got two drag races that we'll have to be watching out for. Vaz comfortable in the race lead. So Crane and Blocker, the battle of the Atoms, who will come out on top in this one.
Massive
on the button for Blocker. Crane, what does he do, Lorenzo? Do you get on the button this time around?
Yeah, I think he's going to actually try to save for the last lap. But you can see Blocker going for that side draft on Adam Crane, side-by-side into the start-finish line. They have 2 to go.
Crane
1 to go.
Crane gets on the button. So on this white flag lap, Crane has realized he needs to hold on. If Blocker gets around the outside into the final lap of this race, he might win that drag race. Crane holds on to second. Tower illuminates like a Christmas tree as 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 9th, all on the button as well. Harrington squeezes Lemonak to the inside wall. Contact between the two of them. That was a little bit naughty from the 44 car, Lorenzo. I don't think Lemonak is too happy about that.
Absolutely not, as it gives him a little bit of a block into 2 and 3.
Blocker's off! Blocker is off! Sorry, Lorenzo. Drama in the championship. He was pushing hard for second. Adam Blocker will settle for third. Not sure what's happened here on the final lap of this race. Let's go straight to the RaceSpotTV replay, Lorenzo.
Yeah, the move was trying to actually go between 5 and 6 as Blockers dives down to the inside. There's a little bit of room. The problem, he clips the grass, cars get loose, and there's like contact between wheels out of the VR satellite driver and the power slide. Unfortunately, couldn't capitalize.
Well, out of the final turn, drama in the championship. Vaz won't care. For the second time in 7 days, victorious on a Monday night is the Portuguese former world championship competitor. He's really enjoying this IndyCar, and it shows every time he brings the heat out on a Monday night. Battle then for 4th, 5th, and 6th. With Crane and Blocker no longer squabbling. Drag race, Harrington versus Lemonak. Who gets it at the line with 3 wide with Bennett? And it is Harrington in the 12 that will get 4th. Lemonak on debut on a Monday settles for 5th. And in the championship picture, Lorenzo, Henry Bennett, 6th position. It could have been a bit better for the British driver. It also could have been so much worse for Adam Blocker.
Yeah, it could have been so much worse. Luckily for Adam Blocker, his car stayed on track, so the time loss that he actually had was so minimal. He could have actually let the 2 cars to come, these 3 cars coming, but fortunately, still retaining 3rd spot. I think he's going to be satisfied getting P3, still in the lead of this championship.
And well, I tell you what, Lorenzo, let's go take one more look at the replay before we take a look at the results. It'll be Vaz once more burning the house down, as is his right. I wonder if there was contact between the two of them, Lorenzo, there, between the two Adams. See if we can pick it up from the aerial look brought to us by ATVO.
The move done on the inside. They still stay side by side, and that's the tricky part. I think there is wheel-to-wheel contact, even though Blocker's car is slightly loose.
Take a look here. It's a better indication. No, he's already loose before he gets into the corner there. I think he knew, Lorenzo, that he had enough of a gap to the cars behind that he could afford to try something aggressive there. It didn't work out. I think the question is, would he have been better off waiting until the main straightaway to try and get that push-to-pass that he had in his hand, the advantage that Crane didn't have? Didn't work out in his favor. Donuts then for Yas Heat's driver, Yao Vaz, the wrong way down the Brickyard.
Yeah, the wrong way into the Brickyard, but every celebration matters for Jean Vaz. 2 in a row in this championship, and unfortunately he hasn't been present in the ovals, but I couldn't wait to see what Jean Vaz would have been able to do in these ovals, because he would have been a factor in this championship as an overall driver.
You know, and maybe in the future, Lorenzo, that's something that we'll see as well.
Oh, yeah.
ISOWC very much opening the eyes of some to the IR18 and all the fun that it might provide. Here, though, are your race results from the first race of a new week on the iRacing.com service. We kick off the month of May, and it's the Portuguese driver of Yao Vaz in victory lane. Adam Crane settles for second. It almost looked like he might have tried something on the strategy. Didn't work out for him, but Adam Blocker trying a late race move. He ends up in the final step on the podium. He will head to the Brickyard in the real world to kick off his trackside duties for Ilmore Engineering. Question remains what Henry Bennett can do while he's absent. Connor Harrington up the field 12 positions into 4th. Great drive there from the private label team hype driver, with R8G's Premysław Lamenek settling for a top 5. Henry Bennett, 2nd in the championship, 6th on the day, with Andrew Wood, Cesare Monzato, Philip Kraus, and Rashard Craig rounding out the top 10. Kraus, unfortunately, down 5 on the day, 2nd this past weekend. Would have thought that confidence might have carried over here to the Brickyard. Unfortunately, not so. Severi Seppa in 11th alongside Vilda Wallen in 12th, with Andrew Marquez and Dylan Roberts. Andrew Marquez and Nate Hayden, teammates, finishing 13th and 14th respectively, with Dylan Roberts, the final finisher, on the lead lap. Liam Quinn, Brendan Lichtenberg, the only cars 1 lap down, with Adam State 2 laps down from the race leaders. Adam Seltzer, Timothy Vaughan, 19th and 20th respectively. The final 4 finishers: Ethan McNichol, Christian Steele, Jacob Oster, and Riley Thompson. I do believe we have interviews standing on by. So I tell you what, let's bring in Yao Vaz, winner for the 2nd time in 7 days, and Lorenzo Bonder, take it away.
So, João, basically, congratulations on this race. A little bit of what we saw back in COTA, basically churning all your push to passes, but then on the end, your pace was blistering. You were flying on the track. How confident were you with the setup coming to this race?
Well, I was a little bit scared when I saw Adam had much top speed. I used all my push to passes in the beginning, at least half of my push to passes in the beginning, and I realized that it wouldn't matter because I could draft, and my only choice there, was to try infield to break the draft in the infield, because we were obviously a different aero setup. But yeah, I used up a lot of the push to pass. It didn't matter in the end. It's just it was a great race. I was talking to Adam. It was an awesome race.
Yeah, really good race from you at this very beginning. You also had a very promising start, top 5 in the ISO WC. I really wanted to ask you, what are the differences in your opinion coming from a track that relies on draft like you get in Watkins Glen? There's a little bit of an arrow wash and arrow push, but here, do you consider more difficult than coming from a track like you did this weekend on Watkins Glen?
Oh, well, Watkins Glen was everybody was very, very well prepared. The drivers are very talented, and we're still new to it, so we obviously missed the qualifying setup. We don't know what went wrong there. But we were just shocked to see how slow we were in qualifying. But the race pace was quite all right. But the main difference is that people prepared a lot, Watkins Glen. I'm not saying they didn't prepare for this one, but you can obviously see a difference in pace, driver to driver, comparing the two venues. Watkins Glen was, as I said, qualifying wasn't so good. Race pace was okay. Well, here I felt more comfortable because still learning the learning curve with the car, with the setup, and I just figured out a couple of things in qualifying setup. So hopefully it will be better in the next one.
Right on. And just to wrap it up, I really want to know in terms of the 500, because we want to know, are you interested in driving the fixed 500, or your mindset is go for the open 500, try to get the best setup, good qualifying next week, and then get prepared for the main race on the 22nd?
Well, I haven't done any oval racing in like nearly 20 years, and I don't have the rating, unfortunately, to the 500. I'll work on it. Maybe I won't join it this year, but next year for sure, because this car is really growing on me, and I felt the need to drive open wheels again. It's been very long since I've driven them. It's still in my DNA, so I'm really happy with the car, but maybe not this year with the 500 because I don't have the sufficient rating, unfortunately.
Very game, João. Again, congratulations on the win of this race. I think the guys at Yassi might be celebrating on that. Can we see maybe what you do in Belle Isle?
Thank you. Thank you. It was a great race. Good job, guys.
So, Yao Vaz, a World Championship competitor in the past. Lorenzo, good question there. Disappointing to hear he won't be in action in the 500, but next year, well, let's see what he can do. He hasn't done an oval race for 20 years. That is incredible.
That is incredible. That is basically two-thirds of my age, so I'm quite surprised on João Vaz. Skills with the Roval. Can we see what actually does on an oval if he actually puts his mind into it in this car?
It's going to be intriguing as well. The Yas Heat squad very much focused now on this Dallara IR18, as well as the Dallara P217, which they are, of course, very familiar with. Let's bring in second place finisher Adam Crane. Lorenzo, take it away.
So Adam here, basically P2 in this race, got really close over there for a second. Really good battle, Adam Blocker. Please, take from your perspective, what happened in that battle? Because it was wildly insane all the way down to the final lap.
Yeah, it was a great battle. With Adam, I put on the alternate tires for the last stop, thinking that I could just manage it and try to build a gap between myself, Zhao, and Blocker. But man, what a race! They were so fast. Zhao was amazingly quick. When he got to me, we had a nice battle there. But I think he was running a little more downforce than I was, so his tires were able to handle the hotter temperatures, which I was really counting on there not being in this race. And then Blocker being on the black sidewall, I did not expect. I did some testing on that, but decided just to go with the old faithful red. So that battle with Adam Blocker definitely was a lot of fun, and I still have to watch the replay. I'm not sure what happened that caused the spin, but definitely going side by side there several times over the last 2 laps was awesome.
Yeah, basically still part of the question from my mouth right now, Adam. So I'm gonna try to make it up from here because I really want to ask, how bad were the tires, those red bands towards the final lap? I tried to do some testing. Second half of the stint was basically horrible for me. I kept crashing to the wall every one turn. How bad is it for you, and how much adjustment do you have to do it all by yourself?
Yeah, after about the first 3 or 4 laps, I went into a management mode. I didn't know how hot the track had gotten, but as soon as you get to lap 7, 8, you lose braking performance, you lose turn in, you lose drive off. It's insane how much these tires change. And honestly, I had so much fun in this race. This is easily one of the best races that, or the most fun races that I've had on this service with this car and this compound. I mean, as far as tools go, I was changing the brake bias, I was using the bars, I was lifting and coasting, I was using everything that I could to try to keep the tire in it. And luckily enough for me, the VRS Satellite Racing car crossed the line P2.
Right on, and I know Cy Andre is going to be very happy with your result. Now, what's the mind focus for you? Because we now have the fixed open this weekend, and then we have the qualifying and the Indy 500 open this 28th second. What is the mindset for Adam Crane and maybe the VRS Satellite moving forward?
For me, and I think most of Satellite, it's open. We're full speed on getting the open set and our open program where we need to be so that we can make the field of 33. So yeah, as far as the fixed, I mean, I wish everyone the best of luck. I won't be trying for that, but yeah, just super stoked with this result. Speechless, really.
Right. Well, congratulations again, Adam. Can't wait to see what you do on this qualifying next weekend, and then hopefully you get into the 33 field for the IndyCar Open this 20th second. Can't wait what you see in these upcoming weeks, Adam.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, back to you, Arjuna.
So Adam Crane, the Canadian, difficult day for him on Saturday in the ISOWC. Yeah. Contact from behind through the inner loop coming through one of the caution periods set off a chain reaction that brought out the subsequent caution. He will be pretty happy with a podium finish here today. One more interview to go. Let's bring in Adam Blocker, who's the final step on the podium here. Before we get to the elephant in the room, Adam, I want to ask you about that strategy call to work yourself onto the black mark tires. One of the few cars at the front of the field to do so. Why did you do so, and how do you feel it worked out?
So I did so because I thought, so Zhao, Adam, and I thought Zhao was maybe a little bit faster than me. I think I was faster than Adam. But, yeah, in the first stint, we got held up by Adam the whole time and just couldn't pass. So I was kind of hoping, and also our lap time fall off was a lot. It was like over 1.3 seconds or something the first stint. So I was thinking that I would be able to have the same average lap time on blacks and then get back to them and have a tire advantage and pass them. That's how it worked in my head. Didn't really turn out that way because I don't think the lap time was just quite there on the blacks. I did get to Adam, but it was just too late. It was to the point where he could use push to pass on all the laps, so I couldn't really do anything. So.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble there, Adam. He only had one push to pass in the closing stages of the race and used it, I think, on the penultimate lap, coming across the start-finish line when I think he knew you were going to win a drag race down into turn 1. Let's talk about that final lap and what happened in through, I believe it's turn 4. You went for a move. It looked like the car got away from you trying to dive it down the inside. Were you fairly confident that even if you had a small incident there, the points would still be there for P3, and if you could get P2, knowing that you are heading to the Brickyard to start trackside duties in the next couple of days, was that your mindset? Were you just thinking about getting the most points you could today?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking third was going to be the worst, and also I knew that was the last lap, so I had to try something. Honestly, I should have not went as deep into 1 and then made a move. I could have probably made the move into 4, but I dove it in, and the car just naturally understeers there and didn't quite make it work. And then I knew Adam was like super slow in turn 6, so I just really sent it there. But I was too far back. I think if I hadn't tried the move in 4, I could have probably made the move work in 6, but in the end I kind of just took a route to make sure I didn't hit him, so that's basically what happened.
And like I said, Adam, you're going to be away for the next couple of weeks. You've managed to get a rig, so you'll be racing in the Lionheart IndyCar series and a couple of races that are upcoming in that. But you must be pretty excited heading back to the Brickyard. First the Indy GP this coming weekend before the Indy 500 in just a couple of weeks. Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously the biggest part of the year. I think everybody is excited for the 500 no matter who you are. So as long as you're an IndyCar fan or associated with IndyCar or anything. So yeah, it's going to be really awesome, and definitely looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations, Adam. We won't see you then for the next couple of weeks, but good luck and enjoy the month of May.
Yep, thanks, Arjuna. I just want to thank the team for the work, and yeah, thank you guys for calling the races.
So Adam Blocker might still be on the cards to reclaim the championship that Brandon Traino took a couple of months ago, but for now, focused on real-world commitments. One more look at this schedule before we wrap up here, Lorenzo. As I mentioned at the top, we are not in the Lone Star State anymore. We have made our way towards Indiana. This coming weekend, the iRacing Fix 500, and then we open the gates. Open qualifying starts on Monday. That will be the same day as our Atlanta Motor Speedway Round 10 Strength of Field race. Building up to the next weekend, iRacing Indy 500 and the 12th annual edition of that race. We return to the Brickyard the next Monday after that. There is a lot of action from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and for drivers, they might start to get a little bit sick of this track.
Yeah, I think they're going to say, at the very beginning of the week, they're going to say yay. At the very end of the weekend, they're going to say please, no more suffering. But yeah, we get out of the road. We go into Atlanta. Very tricky track for you to drive in ovals. Then we open up the roar before the 500. Yeah, I'm gonna bring that. I trademarked as one of my own name jargons, but it's going to be really interesting these upcoming 2 weeks, and how much work will Henry Bennett do to try to, distance himself away from Adam Blocker, since he will be away.
Well, and with that, it's time to wrap up and say goodbye. You'll get a good slow-mo shot of Blocker losing the car there. And just a reminder as well, if you want to stay in touch with RaceSpotTV for more great IndyCar action, we are so busy. It's back-to-back-to-back. ISOWC on Saturday. Mondays, we first got here the IR18 before, in just a couple of hours' time, the DW12, the legendary DW12, returns to the Lionheart competition for the Lionheart Speedway Series. You can follow us for all of that at RaceSpotTV across YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. And if you're not already subscribed to us, make sure you hit that red button and the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with the great sim racing series that we get to cover. Time to say goodbye then once more on a Monday. For my team at RaceSpotTV, my name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined by the wonderful Lorenzo Bonder, as always, on a Monday night. TV cameras brought to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com, with additional car cameras designed by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. Live timing and scoring powered by our friends at Timing 71. You can follow along with the best in the real and virtual worlds of motorsport using their world-class suite of data analysis tools. Once more, it is Yao Vaz celebrating on a Monday night. He will get some well-earned rest as the Portuguese former World Championship competitor adapts to a brand new era in open wheel competition. It's the Dallara IR18, one of the premier cars on the iRacing service, and it will be in action this coming month of May. Time to say goodbye, so long, and enjoy the upcoming iRacing Fix 500 and the qualifying that starts tonight.